You're listening to Funk with Fate, a show about being a body and cultivating pleasurable relationships with everything. And I'm your host, Mackenzie McCormick. This podcast will explore how our embodied experiences connect us to the world through astrology, philosophy, dance, magic, and anything that invigorates our aliveness. What makes us feel the most alive? Big inhale, big exhale. Now let's get grooving.
Hello, Hottie, and welcome to the show. Right now, it is 8:45 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, March 28th, 2024. And at this moment in time, Libra is rising. I'm Mackenzie McCormick, and today we are exploring another episode of the Mars series, the Spicy Rendezvous. And I'm so excited and honored to have Déjà here for talking about Mars in Aquarius.
Yes. Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Please introduce yourself to the pod. Tell us who you are. Tell us about your practice, anything that you want us to share, and to let us get to know you.
Yeah. My name is Déjà. I'm on the internet as Déjà The Jovian. So you'll find me everywhere with that. Let's see. I'm from Philly. I'm based in Philly, born and raised here, greatest city on earth. Everyone should visit Philly at least once in their lives. You don't have to move here because, but at least come to visit. Anyway, and also go birds. I love Philadelphia. It's
That's no, it's so real. Like literally in my head when I think of Deja, I'm like Philly.
Philly. It's me. I am, yes, we are one. But anyway, yes. So I'm in Philly. I study traditional astrology. Honestly, like I feel like yes, I'm like a traditional astrologer, but like I'm not super like in depth in terms of like a lot of uh techniques that are bubbling up now. Like I'm taking it slow. And I've also like not been practicing in terms of like doing readings and stuff like that for folks recently in the past year or so. And I'm last week I was like, I'm getting back into it. I need to do this. But I also have a Mercury retrograde in my first house. Mercury is my time lord. Um and that station's in a little less than a week. And also I have eclipses going through my first and my seventh. So I'm like, I'm just gonna wait to see where I'm at after all of this is over, and then we'll see if I'm gonna do it or not. So stay tuned, everyone. I may or may not be making a comeback. We're not sure. But yes, I study traditional
Hey.
astrology. Um, yeah, what else is
We're
important?
gonna talk about the fact that Deja also has a podcast.
Yeah, oh my God, triplicity. Yes.
Triplicity.
Yes, yes. It's a lot of laughs and
Amazing.
super
Like
stone.
major pod to pod love for the triplicity for Deja and John and Jared.
Yes.
Like, I love y'all so much.
It's so much fun. We just have a blast talking about any and everything. It's so funny because I feel like sometimes we talk about everything else other than astrology, and then we're like, oh yeah, by the way, there's all this stuff happening this month.
By the way, here's this transit that lines up to exact XYZ ABC
Right,
thing.
exactly. It's so funny. It's so funny, but we have tons of fun. Um, and yeah. So I practice fun traditional astrology.
It
I've
is.
also never been good at math ever. I mean, geometry I loved, but like all the other ones, no, absolutely not. So I've always, and I also have, sorry, one more thing. I have Mercury doing, she's trying her best. I have Mercury in detriment, combust, and retrograde. So I'm also not really trying to be out here being like, I know any and everything about every technique. I don't. I don't. So that's one thing that I'm if I do make a comeback, I stand proudly on the fact that I produce a very accessible and not that complicated astrology, traditional astrology. And I'm cool with that. So, yeah, it's a lot of laughs.
You like, this is my hill and I know where it's at.
Yeah, because I don't know, because I feel like it's so easy to compare yourself. And that's the reason why I stopped practicing publicly because I was just comparing myself to like everyone else and like how smart people were. But like, so I had a serious conversation with myself. I'm like, you don't stop taking yourself so seriously. Like, yeah, you are a serious person and you do take yourself seriously, and you're not trying to like be out here, you know, being a horrible person and
Doing
just
the
like
pop astro shit.
right, exactly, and just spewing bullshit. Like, you're not doing that. But like,
Yeah.
also don't feel bad if like calculating things is difficult.
Calculating anything.
Anything, just things. I couldn't even think of a specific thing. That's why we have technology.
Period. That's so Mars and Aquarius. It's honestly a gag. You're like, in fact, that technology thing, I love it.
It works. It's helpful sometimes. So
It really is. Oh, also, we should tell the pod how we met, which I believe was like Astro Twitter, just interacting and vibing on the internet. And then we met in person at Norwalk,
yes.
as I feel like all great connections, where connections happen.
Yes.
It's so real.
2022, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2022 Norwalk, yeah. And yeah, good times at Norwalk.
That was a lot.
2022 for sure. That one was a big one. It was so good to connect in person and meet, and there were like so many of us in the circle.
Yeah. It was awesome. It was, it was unforgettable. I'll never forget that. Are you going this year?
I am.
Nice.
Yeah, I am going this year. I'm pretty hype. Are you?
No, not this year. Too expensive. And I'm moving out, so I'm using my money for that. So
okay, Deja's moving out.
yes, I'm so excited. It's a part of my Mercury and Gemini Time Lord moving through with all that wildness that's happening in Gemini later this year, or in a couple of months.
Oh, I'm thrilled. I'm about my little Gemini ass is about to be having the time of my life.
It's gonna be so fun.
I'm so thrilled. I'm about to have like the best solar return in a few years, and then for the next few years, legitimately.
Period.
For real. Yeah. Speaking of, let's show the people your chart. I love your chart. I know you love your chart. I think everyone should love your chart.
I do. I really do. Oh no. Oh yes. Oh my god. I was like, no, I don't have Libra rising. I got so scared.
No, that was the transit chart.
Oh my
goodness. Just like, since when am I a Libra rising?
Oh,
flip that thing, put that thing down, flip it and reverse it.
I'm crying. Yes, sorry. Okay.
So if you're listening to the audio version, Deja is an Aries rising, ascendant conjunct Saturn in the first, Ayo. Yep. And Deja has Mars in Aquarius in the 11th house with Venus, Uranus, and Jupiter. She is Deja the Jovian after all. Yeah, the Jovian for sure.
Yeah.
And then Sun in Sag with Mercury in Sag, and then Moon in Leo. You've got like the goddess tier, honestly, fire trine in your chart. It's so hot. It's amazing.
It's wild. It's really wild. For a moment, I thought I had Pisces rising.
Really?
Yeah, it was for a hot second. And then I was like, wait, because my birth certificate is wrong. And that happens a lot. And I think birth certificate is incorrect example. I got
so is my partner actually.
See, it happens. It absolutely happens. And I absolutely think that like maybe the intro reading shouldn't be, general birth chart reading. It probably should be meet with an astrologer and like just get your chart rectified.
It should be a rectification. Yeah.
I think so because someone was tweeting about this recently.
Yeah.
That like
I don't remember who it was, but I remember seeing it, and I love doing rectification. It's become one of the things that I love doing most, and it's crazy how many people will come for a natal session, and it's like, we actually can't do this yet. Sorry.
Right.
There's a pre-step before we even get to this.
Yeah. So yeah, when I found out I was like, okay, all right, I'm feeling this. But then when I found out I had Aries rising, I was like, nope. Yep. There it is. Because there's something about just like Saturn on the ascendant, and it just like all clicked, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, funny enough, I'm rectifying my mom's chart right now, and she's kind of like within that time window of like Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries. Those are like the 4 little time zones. But we know that she is 100% not a Pisces rising.
I'm crying.
We know she is not Pisces rising. My money at this point is actually on Aries, funny enough, but it's 100% not Pisces.
Yeah. Yeah,
The vibe
there's
switch between Pisces and Aries is just too stark to have it
yes.
be mistaken.
There's no mistake. There's no mistake. They don't have there's Aries risings have so much energy and just so much like I don't just energy.
They're so in your face. I say that
Yeah.
with love.
Yeah. No,
I say that with
we're
love, but they're
loud.
so in your face, so loud.
Very loud. Yeah. So and like, it just I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Very loud group. Rambunctious,. Which I appreciate. It can be
100%.
uncomfortable. It's being ruled by Mars.
I mean, yeah, like
Yeah.
woof woof. Like for real. All right, so that's Deja's chart. If y'all got the little eyeball full of it, she's got that hot Mars and Aquarius up in the 11th, super loud, like top of the chart. Um, so I guess do you just want to like open us up and like give your thoughts like broadly on Mars and Aquarius before we get real personal? Oh, also before we go any further, I want to go ahead and put a broad sensitive material and content warning because when we talk about Mars, we are talking about a planet that is called a malefic. It brings challenging things. Some of these things could include, but they're not limited to, aggression, anger, inflammation, violence, injury, illness, things that essentially bring your body negativity at times that can be difficult to deal with. And so, at any point in time, if you feel triggered or upset by anything that we're discussing, be aware of your body, be aware of yourself, pause the pod, come back to the pod, because Mars is definitely a planet to handle carefully. So before we go any further, just letting y'all have that broad spectrum awareness before we start going into the nitty gritty with Daddy Mars.
Yeah. Handle Mars with caution is that. Yeah. Yeah. And I have a good story for that. We could talk about that later, but yeah,
We'll
I'm
loop
gonna
back.
write that down.
We'll for sure loop back.
Yeah.
So just to go ahead and start, Mars in Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, and this was one of the episodes I was actually most excited to film because I knew that I was starting the series with Mars in Cancer, Mars in Fall, and so I knew that Mars in Aquarius was going to be the first Mars sign that I talked about that had the same planetary ruler, and we could start essentially the almost like compare and contrast thing. Because when you start with the moon and you go through all planetary rulers, you don't have a repeat until you get to the Saturn ruled signs. And so the contrast between Mars and Aquarius and then Mars and Capricorn, where it has like this amazing dignity, like exaltation, like Mars and Cap is just, I mean, it's amazing. We love it. It's so productive. It's great. And then you kind of get to Mars and Aquarius and you're like, but the other Saturn ruled Mars. And it's this really interesting juxtaposition, I feel like, between the two, like Saturn ruled Mars, like the malefic energy. That's really interesting to explore.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree. It's very, I know people, because Mars was in Capricorn, like, I think it moved into Aquarius maybe a half hour, 45 minutes, at least an hour before I was born. And I know,
Oh yeah, because yours is like so close
yeah,
to
it's at zero
change.
Aquarius.
Yeah,
Yeah,
0 degrees.
it's a little heartbreaking, I'm not gonna lie. But I also feel I'm also okay with that because I feel like having Mars in Cap square Saturn and Aries, I just feel
T.
like I don't know. I don't know.
T.
But anyway,
As,
I
some,
know
as someone who has a planet in Capricorn that squares my Saturn and Aries, that's T,
it's
actually.
yeah, it's a little I don't know, I don't know. So, but anyway, I know people born other Sagittarians born like in earlier December who
Yeah.
have uh Mars and Venus in Capricorn square our Saturn and Aries.
Mm.
And it's just so interesting to like witness them live their lives and how like they'll just go after it. And I'm like, wow, good for you guys. I don't have don't have that motivation. And even I know someone else was born the day my like one of my really good friends from like childhood, she was born the day after me. And so we both have this like but she has Gemini rising. Um
Oh,
it's a little different, but
yeah,
like it's
it is.
still so funny because like we really do relate on like just kind of taking long walks and talking about all the things that we hate. And it's just like that was great. Like it's
Yeah.
so I don't know. This is so fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So yeah, Mars and Aquarius, it's Mars ruled by Saturn and it's Aquarius as a sign. It's an air sign, it's a fixed sign ruled by Saturn like we said. And also something I find interesting is that in relation to the Mars domicile spaces, it makes a square to Scorpio, the other fixed, or I would say Mars fixed domicile, and then it makes the sextile to Aries.
Mhm.
And so it has this almost like natural support from the Mars domiciles in a way that even Mars in Capricorn doesn't inherently have as smoothly. It almost seems like there's the both and situation there. It's like it's not worse or better per se, but it's just a different level of support that feels really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to agree. I have to agree. I do like having the Mars Aquarius Saturn and Aries sextile.
Mm.
Um it's a friendly mutual reception.
Yeah.
Saturn and Aries doesn't have much to give. But
So real.
they're trying. They're
They're
trying, and I
trying.
appreciate that.
They're trying their best.
They are.
But I mean, the mutual reception, at least in your chart with like that sextile, it is really supportive. Like sextiles, I always like to think of them as almost being taken for granted because they work so well that people almost forget that they're there. It's like, oh yes, this is just going so swimmingly. What about it?
Yeah.
Like, and that is really cool that it's just like inherently underlying as a foundation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So for you, like having Mars in Aquarius, what would you say, I guess like starting out, how have you like related to it over time?
Oh, oh my gosh. Through very difficult means. I am I definitely have a deep respect or reverence for Mars, I should say, especially as my out of sex malefic. And just
Oh
being,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, important to mention. We've talked about this on the pod before, but planets act differently at day or night, y'all.
Mhm.
And Deja's got day chart supreme.
Yeah.
Like day chart supreme, like middle of the day, yo. It was like noon, 12:30. Like Deja's got like that middle of the day chart, y'all.
Yeah.
It's sunshine, bright, loud, vibrant.
Yeah.
And Mars is prefers to be at night because
Yeah.
the planet that's super hot and fiery is tempered by the coolness, and Mars during the day is even more stoked and exacerbated. Um, and so I guess that's interesting for you because like the mutual reception with Saturn is like I'm vibing in the daytime,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then Mars is like we're hating it. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. It can get a little hot. It gets a little hot. I do have a difficult time like managing my body temperature to a certain
Mhm.
degree. Like I can get very warm very fast, but I'm also really cold. Like and that's like a Saturn
Wow.
reverse thing, but like it's just so interesting how like I can heat up when I work out. Which I love working out. I love being active. I was an athlete. This just very Mars things here. I ran track and well, cross country. I loved more than I hated track. Actually, I hated track with all of my heart. But cross country,
Oh, so you
loved
didn't
that.
like the short distances, you liked the long distances?
Yes,
This is so Mars versus Saturn, y'all. Mars is like, I'm gonna sprint, and Saturn's like, I'm here for the long haul.
the long, yeah, exactly. Like that's and I also like was a swimmer and stuff like that too. And swimming was like my main thing, and
Mm.
like something that I was always taught was like you have to put in the work to like even do anything like to not to do any like to get your timed you need to put in the work every single day. Missing practice was not an option. And my coach always used to say to me like if you miss one day of practice that's going to put you back 2 days. So if you miss the more it's so
It's cumulative.
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of um what's the word like dedication.
Hmm.
But the thing is that I guess I was an athlete and I did all these sports. I wasn't the best. I'm not gonna say that I was not like this is not an exalted Mars domiciled Mars situation. I was not like the most incredible athlete. I did okay. I was really more interested in like fighting with my words, to be quite honest. Like I and not really my words, but like with my like not my intellect either. It's more so like being able to explain my thoughts in a coherent and intellectual way really matter to me. But like it I was forced. It was that sort of like caring about that. It was forced upon me because I went to a PWI and like uh it was a private all girls school. I actually went to the same school as Kira Taborn, so it was so
Oh yes, I
yes,
remember this.
it was so
We love
fantastic.
Kira on the pod. Kira is the astrology for those who don't know.
Yes.
Kira is absolutely amazing. Has a podcast, has like courses, lectures, everything. She's an icon in the community, y'all.
Truly, absolutely. I love Kira. I've learned a ton from her. And yeah, I remember when I saw her, I was like, oh my God, wait, I know you. I remember you. I was like in middle school and she was in high school, but still. Anyway, um, so and this is also like Mars in the 11th as well, I'd say. I was always an outsider, like to some degree. I was the black girl, one of six, one of five in my grade, like from fifth to 12th grade. So there's
And that's
that.
really isolating.
It is. It
Like
is.
feeling like you don't have anybody who looks like you, sounds like you, acts like you to actually be in community with, and you're in community with people who are completely different from you. That's so isolating.
It was an experience. And then even because of that, we like I had a lot of I was friends with a lot of people because I was on student government. So I also really cared about like making friends. I love having friends. I just love having friends.
11th house stuff.
Right, exactly.
Like truly an 11th house experience.
I just love like being able to walk in a room and like at least even if I don't know anybody, just being able to like chat with someone and leave with a new friend.
Mm.
Um, but anyway, like even within like the affinity groups that I felt a part of, there was still strife and like like problems. Like we were not all yay, we all love each other. All the black girls are best friends. Like we all had our problems even within that, which everyone does.
Every
But like
community has that, yeah.
right, right. But like I also was always the one who would like I was very confrontational. And that's something that I've learned how to like tamper and like you don't have to fight every battle. And it got me in
That's so Mars in the 11th house too.
yeah.
Like
Yes.
no matter what, essentially no matter what community you're in, you feel like you have to fight for your place to be there.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Or and
Mm.
if I'm not like fighting for my place to be there, I'm like fighting other people there because like
Because you become basically the mediator.
yeah. Yes.
Like people, you're like, oh, and essentially just because you're capable of handling the conflict, people are like, let me bring you my conflict so that you can work it out for me.
Yeah.
Because you're clearly attuned and built to deal with conflict. So can you just
Mm,
resolve it for me?
that's a good read. That's a good read. That's a good
Mm.
read. Yeah. And I feel like that came up. Ooh, that's good. Yeah. I feel like that came up a lot. A lot. And people just like project their feelings of of like just like being a very Mars malefic person. People just
Mhm.
like, make assumptions about that. But like I'm also like, not really. I have all these other things that are not very Marsy in my chart, and I also have Venus with Mars. I'm also like, no, but I want to be your friend. Like,
Yeah.
I'm okay in this conflict. I'm okay with that. I'm gonna get my thoughts out. You get your thoughts out. Let's be friends though, and let's move on. But like,
Ah, and that's a hard thing for some people to grasp
yeah,
because they're
for
like,
a
wait,
lot of people,
we're not just fighting.
yes,
We're like they don't get past the fighting to the actual resolution and the solution, and you're like, no, we're fighting for a purpose. We're not just fighting for shits and gigs. We're actually fighting so that we can then have a friendship and relationship and get closer from it.
exactly. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
And that's another really interesting thing with Mars and Aquarius I find is that people have a hard time accepting like
Mm,
their truth in a way because it
mm,
never fits with their own definition of like truth or normalcy. Like there's never like this perfect like oh they fit in perfectly like even how you were saying like being an athlete you're like oh I wasn't the best but that wasn't my goal. It's like other people have a hard time understanding that like that success isn't the goal. Like
right.
when you have a goal that's outside of like the predetermined set, like here's what you're supposed to want, here's what you're supposed to strive for. And whenever you completely, like when anyone completely looks at that and says, well, that wasn't my goal at all, that was your goal that you decided to impose on me, but that wasn't my goal, and people just take that totally personally even when it's not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, it's so interesting. It's so interesting. Who, I actually don't know their name off the top of my head, and I know their Twitter handle and like their Instagram handle. It's like
Oh, shout out their tag, who cares.
Cobra. Oh my god, and I feel like I should
Oh,
know.
Whitney, Cobra and Crescent, Whitney.
Yes, Whitney.
Oh, I
Okay, I'm so
love
sorry. Please,
Whitney.
I hope you didn't hear that. Please ignore everything I just said because I know you.
No,
Them,
Whitney's
but like
Whitney's
no.
amazing. Whitney and I danced together at Norwalk last year at the dance party. I love, oh
So sweet. That's so sweet.
yeah,
No,
Whitney is
but
amazing.
they made a post when Mars and Aquarius, a part of like a bigger Mars series, and one of the things is like we don't take conflict personally, and it's difficult for us to like understand how and why other people take it personally.
Yeah.
But I also feel like sometimes people take advantage of that in a way because like I'll just be like, okay, great, we've worked it out, let's move on, we're great. And then like they think that they got one over on me.
They think they can get away with it.
Right. And then it's like, no. And then the wrath of Saturn comes down and I have to cut them out of my life because you can't, no. Like, yeah, I know I was chill about it, but like
I'm
also
no longer chill.
this is not, no. It's really interesting and I feel like it always kind of catches people off guard sometimes, and I've heard that a lot and I think it is like the very air cold quality, Saturnian quality
Yeah.
of, and also fixed,
Mm-hmm.
like Taurus is very unbothered, and like Aquarius
Are you sure?
it's
Are you sure about that?
stop. Well,
I'm not.
sometimes I don't know.
Sometimes it really is nothing to cut a bitch off, but sometimes it is.
No, yeah.
Sometimes it is. No, it's actually really funny. I'll mention it. I have Mars and Taurus, and I was really excited to film this episode because of that. But I often joke that my Mercury and Mars and Taurus are like my dogs, and my dog, the one who I call Mars, hilariously like scratched my chest up earlier before we were going to record, and I was like, wow, yeah, this Mars is square, my Mars. I guess it is. But then I was like, oh, maybe. But of course, I was like, maybe I should change shirts so that you can't see it. And then I was like, fuck it, unbothered.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, and I feel like that sort of like situation is we're kind of unbothered, but more so in the sense of it's like, okay, it's the conflict.
And also, it really highlights that Leo Aquarius axis, where
God.
the Leo side is like everything is
Yeah.
everything is personal. Everything is straight to me. You said it to me personally, but then you take the opposite of that, like across the street, and you go to Aquarius, and they're like, you couldn't have possibly meant that to me personally. You couldn't have possibly be intending for me to take that personally.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Well, my boyfriend actually he has a Leo stellium. He has Mercury, Mars, and Venus in Leo. And
Okay, cute.
Absolutely hilarious because like he'll have
your moon there.
Yes, we have a moon, and my
You
also my
two
lot
are
of spirit.
so cute.
Like,
Deja and Gabe are one of my OTPs, y'all.
I love
Honestly,
him.
Deja and Gabe are one of my OTPs for real.
I love him. Yeah, no, but like he takes things personally, but then he also can realize when I'm not taking something personally enough. And that's the thing I really appreciate because sometimes, as I said before, like I take it for granted, and I take the conflict for granted, and people will think that they're getting it like whatever, but like no, he's like no, that was not okay, and it's okay if you feel slighted by that, like that was about you, like I don't know, so
Now, I did intend that personally. Oh my gosh, this reminds me of The Last Dance, that documentary with Michael Jordan, and I took that personally. So real.
Yeah.
So real.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Something else I want to highlight about Mars and Aquarius that I love a lot is often this like sense of like unexpectedness and like unpredictability that comes with it. And something that I've found, I feel like Mars and Aquarius natives often happen is like they do things that are unexpected to others, but then they also end up surprising themselves.
Sometimes, yeah.
And they end up going for things or making choices that they're like, huh, wouldn't have expected that, but here we are.
Here we are. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's fun. It's fun. I don't know. I I think like the general archetype of the things of the paths that I go on are generally the same, but like all the different like the details that go into like yes, I love astrology, but like I study traditional astrology. You know what I mean? And it's not
Like
like,
a little niche
co-star. It's very niche.
screaming.
And
Delete co-star right now if it's on your phone.
I'm not gonna lie, I do enjoy following them on Instagram. I do like their little
It's chaos.
I do enjoy that. I'm not gonna lie. I don't have the app at all. I haven't looked at that in forever. Um, but yeah, I love a good niche thing that no one knows about.
Mm-hmm.
That feels obscure and special to me. So yeah, it makes me feel like I found a gem in the deep cave.
Yeah, like this little pocket of stuff that's like just yours that you like discovered, found, like curated for yourself.
Yes, it's so fun. But that's I don't think that's related to Mars. But other Mars and
Yeah, I feel
Aquarius
like it
things.
is somewhat related to the Aquarius bit though, because I feel like there's
Yes.
a bit of that like a Mars and Aquarius like archetype that's like looking for a thing that's unique enough that they're gonna get it in a way that they can maybe help transmute to others, if that makes sense.
Yes.
You're like,
Oh
look
my
at
God.
this weird thing that I found. You should know about this too.
Oh yeah, all the time. That's me. That's me all the time. Like I don't hate, but I would really rather buy stuff like I work for a brewery, a craft brewery in Philly, and I like
Oh yeah, and you do great work with them. I love seeing your posts and their posts that you do.
stop, thank you. Stop it. Oh my God. Yeah, no, I love craft beer. Love craft beer. Love finding a random local brewery. If I'm in like a new space, I'll go find a brewery,
Mm,
try some beer. But like you won't really catch me drinking Bud Light. That stuff is disgusting. Like
I'm
don't
sure.
drink that. Don't drink that. No.
No.
Unless you're like unless the only pass nope, not even then. I was gonna say the only pass they'll give is if you're at like a sports game or something. But no, they have
They
local
would
stuff.
probably have like a Stella Artois or a Yingling, and that would
Yeah.
still be
Or
better than a
something
Bud
just a
Light.
little bit better. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. That's like the lowest of the low. Yingling's
Mhm.
pretty good. I think Yingling is the standard for uh craft beer, if I'm not mistaken. Like
Yeah, my dad loved Yingling because for a very long time it was only available in the South, and my family had to literally travel to bring it back up to where I'm from in Indiana because you used to not be able to buy it in stores there, and I'm not sure if you can now. It's been a while since I moved away, so you might be able to now, but they couldn't buy it in some parts of the country, and so we like literally my dad would drive a few hours to go get Yingling and bring it because he loved it that much because he was like it's just so much better than every other beer, and I was
no,
like you're
that's
not
true.
wrong.
It is. It's pretty good. I do enjoy that a lot. Um yeah.
But that's
Uh
so cute. You're like I want a craft brew,
yeah.
a
Needs to
special
be
one.
yeah, it needs to be a little bit more special than that. But
Cool.
something else I think about with Mars and Aquarius, especially compared to like Mars and Cap, Mars and Air, it's compared to all the other
Like dignified Mars.
yeah. This is just, Peregrine Mars. He's wandering. He doesn't really know what he's doing. And I also think that that speaks to like I don't know if it's just me, but like I always find myself ruminating a lot. Like I will make a plan, I will write whole plans for months and months, and I'll stay in the thought space. I stay in the
Mm.
air
The
trying to
air.
like piece it all together, and like sometimes it's really hard for me to like make it happen. Um
Oh, to go from the mental to the physical transition per se.
yeah, absolutely. Um and as I've been talking about, Saturn and Aries definitely helps with like get up and go, but like I feel like there's this I don't know, there's because I feel like Saturn is it fixed, cold, dry. it's air, like it's kind of like stuck in the clouds. And I think
Yeah.
that's where people get the detachment from with Aquarius and stuff like that. And he's just kind
Because
of
people often label Aquarius as like, oh, you don't care or something. And
right.
it's like, not that they don't care, it's that they're not as invested as you. And you're translating that to be not care, but it's not that extreme.
Right, exactly. And
Something that I'm also thinking of that you're reminding me of is how like Mars and Capricorn is often known as like they're so go-getters. They have like the
yeah.
productivity, the motivation, they go for things.
Hmm.
And there's a very tangible physical
Hmm.
element to that. Whereas the Mars and Aquarius, I'm thinking of like the mental architecture that
Hmm.
goes on with
Hmm.
all of the planning and the thought processes
Hmm.
that has to happen before you're even able to do anything physically, because it has to all essentially the groundwork and the layout has to be completely planned,
Yeah.
like and established and structured before you can be like, okay, now let's do it.
Yeah. Hmm. Absolutely, I totally agree. um yeah, it's really funky, it's really interesting. And I also feel like it's, the air signs are also very people oriented,
They
and like
are. I mean, let's
like
not let's be real here. I was so excited to film this because I was like, oh my god, it's gonna be air all over my podcast. Because everybody who knows anything about me knows that I'm like so Gemini, it's sickening. And I'm like, air signs? Air signs where? Air signs here? There? Where they at? And
no,
it's
please,
so
air signs are my favorite people. Air
they're
signs and fire
amazing.
signs, literally God's gift to the planet.
Like things would be so boring without us to thicken the plot.
Did you lie? No, you did not. You did not. Sometimes I look at Earth and water signs. Sometimes I'm like, what is going on inside their brains? Like,
Yeah, it's really funny too because my actually like elementally my chart is Earth dominant, but my Sag rising and my Gemini planets are so loud
mhm,
that it's very easy to forget that I'm anything but hot air.
crying. I'm crying.
Like like it's so real. Like if you know me well enough, you're like, "Oh, she's extremely Earth. She's very Earth." But when you just like get like the perception of me, you're like, "Buzz buzz buzz, little bee going off in there and there."
Yeah, just having a blast.
Just having a blast. And so whenever I was thinking about this episode, I was like, oh my god, the like the words and the thoughts and just like the cloudy airiness of like Mars and Aquarius is like a sensation that I feel like Mars as a planet is almost like miscalculated against or like underrated in a way, because people look at like the Mars in domicile or like the dignified Mars energies and they're like, that's what Mars does. And then you put Mars in a place like Aquarius where it doesn't really have, any essential dignity, it doesn't have much to go on, and you're like, how does Mars function? And it's like it still functions normally as it does, but it's not what people expect from Mars. And so
Mm-hmm.
even Aquarius as a sign already has this archetype of like being a weirdo per se. And then you put Mars there, a planet who doesn't necessarily function there as organically or naturally as it would in some other signs. And it's like, well, this is a little funky fresh, huh?
It's very funky. It's very, very funky. Yeah. It's really interesting. Oof. That's just it can be tough. It can really be tough. Um and it's so sometimes it's inspiring to watch other dignified Mars people operate, and I'm just like, dang, I wish I could like get it done like that, you know? Um
I do know. I know painfully well.
and I've also like been put on my ass when I don't
Mm.
like take my time. And like this is all like, Saturn Mars mutual reception, but like, and also why I kind of appreciate it, but I feel like because I'm like very Mars, can be confrontational, and it's so strange. Like as you said, like I kind of like something will tick me off that like you really don't think that most people don't assume would be something that would like really send someone. But the thing, like, it's like legitimate stuff though, like especially when it comes to like just social problems and things of that nature. I've gotten into plenty of fights with especially men, and that's something that I'm very like I love. I've loved fighting with men. It is something it's like such a
We
problem.
live for a queen that will fight a man. We live.
I'm like not afraid. I'm not afraid. And like I'm the oldest, I'm the firstborn, I'm a girl. So and I grew up fighting my dad verbally. And not like, but
Yeah.
regardless, so it's like
No, firstborn daughter things.
it's truly, and it's just like I don't know. There's just like this. I'm not afraid. I will curse people out. Um, and yeah, but I'm also like really good at knowing like, okay, this is the battle to fight, and this is not the battle to fight.
Mm.
You should yell at these people, because like they are like putting someone in harm's way, or like the way that they're thinking about something is really just like really fucked up.
Really toxic, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't stand for that at all. Like if I hear I my values are very important to me, and my morals especially are, and that like within
He is
itself
the
is
Jovian.
yeah, it's it can be a little problematic because like no one is perfect, and I fucked up. I am ruled by Mars. Of course I have fucked up. Of course I have like gotten into trouble and done stuff that was not okay. Um
To be expected.
yeah.
It's a Mars thing.
It's just a what can I say?
The Mars thing. And I mean, you're like, especially because in your chart, like so angular with Saturn and then like Mars in the 11th house, like the mutual reception, like the sect, everything. It's so loud and so prevalent in your chart that it's like probably unavoidable for you to be like, well, yeah, of course I'm going to say the thing. Of course I'm going to do the thing. How could I not?
Yeah. Yeah, I have to. A lot of the times I feel like I have no choice but to like to say these things or to do this thing.
To engage.
Yeah. Um but yeah, I think for all of these things, I love Twitter. I have been on there for a really long time. For a very long time, and I used to fight with people on Twitter all the time.
They do
Um
call them Twitter fingers for a reason.
I'm crying.
I'm just saying they do call them that for a reason. Trigger fingers or Twitter fingers.
Dude, I fire off. I used to fire off. But then I grew and I learned not all these people are worth it, and a lot of them are bots anyway, so it's like not even worth it. Um, but yeah, I'm never really afraid of like a little bit of a tussle, especially when I've like done the research and I've done the learning. Um, I'm not afraid, but people will absolutely pick fights with me or like critique me. Um, in ways that I'm like, this is unnecessary. I don't know why you're critiquing me this hard. Um, but
Something that you said made me think of this concept, how usually when people are engaging with Mars, like in a fight, in a conflict issue, it's very physical. Mars is a nocturnal planet. It becomes very physical. Altercations end up that way. However, for Mars and Aquarius, it is also like a mental battle as well. And you specifically use the word critique, which I thought was so interesting because it becomes this very like war of words in a
yeah,
way,
yeah.
that it's like people try to reduce that down to physical, and you're like, no, but I'm already 3 steps ahead of you mentally.
Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. I loved college for that, and like writing like
Mm.
papers and needing to find the evidence to support your thing, and like
Cite those sources, baby. Cite those sources.
yes, after you get like after you like figure out how to do it, because it's like it's so annoying. Academia, whatever, that's besides the point, but like
So true.
once
It
once
is
you
so annoying.
once you get past that and you like get the formula down, it's just so nice to be able to be like, this is the thought, and da 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 da. Like I used to love being in class and being able to just like people used to come in, and it was so wild because like in college we were in like a political science classes, like like not like 101s, but like the 200, 300
The
level.
200, 300, 400 level, yeah.
Right. Yeah, and people would the white men would say things, and I'm just like, what? And I would be like, actually, that doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
And
Start
that
that
was the whole thing. It was just so fun for me. I just
fight.
I just thought it was comical. And then like I would see them outside the classroom and be like, "Hello,
Yep.
do you remember me?" Oh yeah, they did not like that. Yeah, I was very antagonizing. But that's
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, this is actually reminding me. So I studied political science and philosophy in college,
Oh my
and
god.
one of one of my
Sorry.
yeah. Yeah, one of my really good friends, named Cameron, we very affectionately refer to each other as like our greatest debate rival, essentially, in all of our philosophy classes, because it got to the point where I would just take the opposite side sometimes for fun
I'm
because
crying.
we had such a good time debating, and it was never personal. Like we would see each other outside of class, we still message and talk, like we're still cool, but it was so funny because it was like I know that we can go toe to toe respectfully without it being personal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was that very Aquarius thing of like, we're not debating your personal ethos versus my personal ethos. We're debating these worldviews in a way, which of course
Yeah.
do reflect on a personal moral
True.
compass, of course. But
Yeah.
still, in class, you can, play devil's advocate and like argue a certain thing because to see how the argument would go and to flesh it out and to just kind of do the mental gymnastics for fun.
Yes. That's the thing. I do enjoy a good mental gymnastics.
Mm,
I do enjoy that. I do enjoy that. And also but like
that's a good Mars workout.
it is. It really is. And that's why I also really loved philosophy because I felt like one, it made me a better person, but like it also like taught me how to think more appropriately and a little bit more in depth um than just for the sake of writing a research paper. Um
100%.
but yeah, no, I totally agree. I agree.
Yeah, I feel that. I had some of my most major awakenings in my philosophy classes.
Yes. Yes. I think it's really upsetting how like not taken seriously of a major it is because I feel like it is so I feel like it's so I feel like what was the point of going to college if it wasn't to do this? You know what I mean?
It
Like
wasn't to
go back
expand
to
your
school.
worldview.
Right, like you're supposed to be learning about the world. I don't
That's so ninth house of you, by the way. Be like, what's the point of this journey if I didn't even learn anything?
Exactly. It did not also mess me up in the I mean not really. I loved just like learning, but like I hated doing the work. And that's also like I think it's so interesting sometimes how I don't have any planets in domicile or exaltation, but like I have planets in joy, let's say. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like I
Your
love
planets enjoy.
they're doing their joy. They're doing
They're
their
they
thing.
are rich. They are in joy.
They
They
are.
are
They are.
rejoicing.
Um, but like I don't ever get to like actually turning in my work on time. You know what I mean? Like I like yeah, sure I would fight in the class, but and like had really good thoughts in the class, but like you want me to do all this extra work that like literally doesn't matter. So it was, but that's
Yeah,
the whole that's just like that's messed up Mercury and whatever. So
yeah, that's real. That's so real.
ah,
Yeah, get your planets in joy. They're like, well, we're hanging out. We're having a good time. We're enjoying ourselves.
yeah. No, yeah, we have great times. I'm not it hasn't caught up with me yet. And at this point, I've gotten enough work experience. College major doesn't matter. So
That's a very real thing. I mean, I literally do not use my political science degree for diddly squat at this
nope,
point.
nope, nope. Unless you want to become a doctor of any kind, or like a
But
nurse,
yeah, that's it.
you don't, do what you want to do. Like, just sign a job. That's all that
Yeah,
matters, really.
so
It's so
real.
annoying. Um, yeah.
So, okay, question. So we kind of obviously talked about Mars and Saturn a lot, but talking about Mars specifically, not just you having Mars in Aquarius, but Mars ruling your ascendant, ruling like the place of your body, how
Mhm.
has that felt like for you physically?
Oh yeah, pain. Oh, lots of pain. Lots of pain.
Yeah,
I mean, I so I
heed the trigger warning, friends.
try. No, lots of pain. Lots of pain. The trigger warning periods. If I'm not working out, I get really bad cramps to the point where I'm just like out for the day. I don't have like fibroids or anything like that, but my periods are just like they're really painful in the first day. And it knocks me out for a couple of hours. But I usually can get back up much later in the day after I've slept and like drink a whole bunch of raspberry leaf tea and taken, all my stuff. After a few hours, I'm okay. But sometimes I always that's a memory of like in like later middle school, but especially high school, I always had like one cycle a year that was just like exceptionally bad. Um so yeah, body does be she be fighting me sometimes. But like also when we had that Mars retrograde in Gemini. Oh my God, that was
Yeah, it's funny enough, Mars retrograde in Gemini is actually one of the reasons that I did not start this series with Mars and Gemini because we had just had enough of it. I was like, we're starting with fallen Mars. We will loop back
yes.
to Mars and Gemini at the end of the cycle.
That was
It
wow.
took everybody out.
It did. It was
No, actual definition of Twitter fingers and trigger fingers. That was really the time. We have never seen as many personal attacks and arguments and as many people being canceled on Twitter as we saw during that Mars and Gemini retrograde. It was so insane.
it was really bad. Yeah, yeah. Mars retrogrades usually put me on my ass. Usually, whether it's like the direct, it's at some point. Whether it's so the most recent time with this Mars retrograde in Gem, I think he he stationed opposite my Mercury, and I was in the clear, and I was like, all right, okay, okay, but I'm not gonna you're I'm not I don't believe you just yet because I had a Mars and Aries retrograde station experience that I'll talk about after this one, but
Ooh.
it was that was awful. Anyway, so I think so Mars station retrograde opposite Mercury and then went back and then station direct and then came back. The final paths opposite my Mercury, I was canning at work and I fucked up my back really bad. And I was out for like a couple of days. I just like could not move. I couldn't walk because it was so painful. Um and yeah, I think I just like slipped a disc. But it's fine. After a while I figured it out.
Ooh.
I was actually it was so funny
That's
because I was
a big deal, dog.
no, it was. Oh no, it was not fun. It was funny because I was applying heat to it at first, and my boyfriend's mom was like, "I think you should try ice," and I was like, "Okay," and I just did it, and like Mars remediation, cool the thing
Yeah.
down, don't heat it up,
Not
and it worked. After that, I was like, "Oh my God, I can walk now." It was crazy. It was like she was
yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, that reminds me of all of the like gyms that do like the ice baths and then they do like right into like the sauna and then like the back and forth between like the hot and cold therapy
Interesting.
and like the essentially the relationship between like the cold and the heat and the muscle regeneration. How like a lot of people love doing the ice baths. I've even seen them. This is definitely something that I feel like Instagram and TikTok have done because I feel like the amount of people taking ice baths has like quadrupled in like the last year. People are like going ice bath crazy, which I'm not hating. I love that. But I feel like before that sort of went viral, I feel like heat was the predominant thing that people are like, oh, use a heating pad or like sit in a hot bath or sit in a sauna or something like that. And that was the like almost most accepted method of like the muscle regeneration and like healing. And now almost like the pivot transition, which I do think is probably also like a Saturn and Pisces thing as well that I've like had thoughts about is like the cold planet in this like watery place, okay, the muscle tissue healing through the cold. Because it's like it's not like that's anything new. Like we've known that hot and cold therapy is both good for the body in different, different forms, different times for years, but I feel like it's gone super viral like recently. And I'm like that's for sure a Saturn and Pisces thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting.
It's so cool that you transitioned from heat to cold and your back was like, wow, we love this.
Yeah, it was like night and day. Yeah, that was my one. That was sad. That was Mars stationing in Gemini.
Gemini,
Feeling that that was pain. Um,
because that was
but
in your third house.
yeah.
Oh.
And Mercury is the ruler of my sixth, so I'm just gonna toss that out there as
I
well.
was about to say, yeah, that connects to the six because you were like, I was at work, and I was like, okay, I see now.
Yep, yep. So yeah, that was unfun. So yeah, sometimes it's like physical pain,
Yeah.
and other times it's people cutting me off, and that's what happened during Mars retrograde stationing in Aries in my first back in
Oh, okay.
2020. Okay, that's like a longer story though, but
That's
um,
okay. We got time.
crying. There was just like
Who
friends.
put a deadline on it? It wasn't me.
I'm fucking dead.
But well, it's interesting that you say that because it's interesting how you described it. You were like, well, the Mars retrograde in Gemini, like the air sign trine to your Mars, that was really physical for you. And
Mm,
now, like the compare and contrast here, like when it was retrograde in Aries,
mm.
for you, like your first house, you're like, well, it was very like mental, like relational per
Yeah,
se.
yeah,
So that's
totally.
really interesting because also like Mars in your 11th, like
Yeah,
community, friendship, stuff like that. That's super interesting. The difference there.
yeah, that is really interesting. I never caught that. That's very true. Absolutely. Yeah, no. I mean, it all, I think you can really say it was like a very long beginning of quarantine, beginning of COVID, like
Mm.
drama and like chaos that just kind of was just chaos and was never going to work
Also
out.
had some friendships cut off during that time. Now that I'm remembering.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was,
Gag.
and you know, we were in lockdown. It was everything was like magnified by 10. But like also there was a lot of like valids it whatever, all the stuff. Um So yeah, it kind of all started way at the beginning of 2020, and then like Saturn entered Aquarius, and then and I was in a Saturn year, and Mars entered into Aquarius right after, and I had the Saturn Mars conjunction on top of my natal Mars, and like that's when lockdown
That was not
started for
it.
everybody. I was in my room by myself, like I wasn't at school. I had left school because I thought that like my friends down here, we would all still be friends, and that did not happen. I was
Ugh.
locked in my room, going through like a whole friendship breakup crisis that was really like that still mentally fucks me up still to this day. And I sometimes I look back and I'm just like, my God, like the further I get away from it, the more angry I get, which is so interesting because you think that like the further you get away, like time heals. No, time
Mm.
reveals. Time gives you a moment to like gain your sanity and to like analyze things and to realize, oh no. I was not in the wrong. I was not in the wrong. I
Spoken like a child of Saturn.
it was not me. That was
Time,
not me.
time
Time
reveals.
reveals. It does. It really does. Um, and that's something I had to remind myself. But like it was just ridiculousness. Um, yeah, Saturn. Yep, that all happened. That was really traumatizing and horrible. And then later in the year, Mars station retrograde, and the two friends that I was in like uh chaos drama with,
Mm.
um, both text they're dating. Both texted me on the same day that they didn't want to be my friends anymore. Via text. One is the cousin of my boyfriend, and the other was like my really good friend from really good friend because he was always a horrible friend. I just like really loved having a friend, and we,
Yeah.
and like I cared about the
So,
friendship.
so 11th house of you. You're like, I just love having these people and these friends.
Yeah, and it felt
And you
like
are a really good friend.
thank you. I think I'm a really good
Like, y'all don't
my
understand. Like, Deja and
best.
I don't even talk that regularly. But, like, when I think of Deja, it's like, I know she's a good friend. Like,
I try my best. I try because I know what it feels like to be pushed out, to be left out, to be not considered, to not be invited to places,
mm,
to like not be, yeah, to like people
not be
think that
included.
I'm okay. Yeah. And I'm like, no, but like I want tenderness and love too. And that's also a thing I think that comes with like Mars in general is like we do definitely have like intensity, especially day chart Mars people. We just there's like an intensity there that like we may not necessarily know how to handle or deal with, and uh not necessarily always because of like the things that we do, but just like it just kind of comes at us in this really unfortunate way. Yeah, and it's really sad. And that happened to me. Yep. Mars stationing in my first house. It also felt like spiritual warfare, to be completely honest, because one of
Mm,
the friends was like
really good keyword
into
there.
like spiritual stuff. And like I had been talking about this moment too. I had been like Mars stationing retrograde is going to be a big deal, da da da, because it was in 2020, and like da 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 da. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, I feel like that was calculated. Like I feel like that was calculated because like the ruler of my ascendant is not moving in my first house, and I feel like they really took advantage of that and said, and I didn't do anything. There was nothing I could do. You know what I mean? Like they were like an hour or so away anyway, so it didn't matter. So I was literally just sitting here alone and isolated, and then I had to like sit with that. Um, and I never got to curse them out. I never got to speak my piece because
You never
also
got conflict out.
exactly. And I also like didn't I also thought I'm a horrible person. And that's also a problem I have in general, but I think that's Saturn. So
I was just about to say that's giving malefic on the ascendant. Yeah.
it's so hard. And it like really like uh came at my confidence big time. Um and I'll never forget that. I'll never forget it. I will never ever forget how that experience made me feel and the impact that it still has on me till this day. Um, I could talk about my friendship drama for hours, and it's really sad because like
Mars in the 11th.
it's hard because I'll have like the greatest of times with both benefics being there, and then also the worst of times happening at the same time.
Because it's
Um,
your malefic out of sect.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Mm.
it's really sad, and and yeah. So it also had it kind of calls me to just um I'm still learning how to like navigate friendships in general. This is kind of like sensey. I've never really like talked about this.
Yeah, like how to navigate shared space.
Yeah, right, exactly. And like
Yeah, this is all very sensitive to me right now because these eclipses are happening in my 5th and 11th.
yeah,
And the 11th house is actually one of my least favorite houses, I'm not gonna lie. It's,
really.
yeah. The ruler of my 11th is in my 7th, and it's Venus.
Oh,
So you have to understand that every time for me, every time I'm in a community space, I'm like, I wish this was more intimate.
oh,
I wish that this was like not even less people. I'm like, I just need to like, even when I'm in a massive group of people, I'm like, let me find just a couple and hang
mm,
out for a while, and then I'll do my Gemini thing, and I'll like flit over to a couple other people, and so it feels very 11th house, but it's in like the intimate container that I'm good at.
I get that.
Hilariously, because of these eclipses, I've been called to do a lot more 11th house community, like community facilitating, and then also just being in broader groups of friends than I'm like I would say used to per se. It's been nice because I've been having really nice experiences, but it is like very much a growing pains thing. Um, because I'm much more comfortable in like the intimate 7th house relationship. 11th house relationships get really difficult for me to navigate. And so being around people who are like super strong 11th housers, I'm like, oh, this is so fucking nice to just absorb this and feel this, you know? Um, Something also that you said really stuck out to me. So let me make sure I don't forget to say it. You were talking about Mars and like needing tenderness as well. And like, I feel like people forget that Mars is baby.
Yeah.
Like people always forget
Don't
that
talk
Mars is
about
baby.
my
Um,
secrets, please.
they're my secrets too. Don't worry. But it's so easy because you also, and I, this is something, if you've listened to any of these Mars episodes, you're probably going to have already picked up on this, is that Deja has a Mars moon opposition. I have a moon Mars opposition. Multiple people who've been on the pod have a moon Mars opposition. Like when we talk about Mars, we end up talking about the moon on this podcast because that's the nature of me and the space I facilitate, and that's what happens. But like Mars is baby.
Yeah.
Like Mars really, like why is there any need to lash out? Probably like why do babies lash out? Because they're not being given something they need, but they don't have the words to describe why they need it yet, and they can't really get through, and so all they have is the physicality to translate it. And then you put like that Mars energy in a place like Aquarius, and it's like I have to talk it out or else I feel like I'm going to implode because I can't not discuss it, because discussing the conflict is the way that we get it out. You can't just do the conflict action wise. We have to discuss it. That's the path forward and through.
Yes.
And so people still look at that and they, like how you said, they're like, they forget that that still deserves tenderness and softness and being handled with love and care. It's like just because it's this airy environment doesn't mean that it still doesn't deserve a hug, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. 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 Stop. I'm gonna I'm gonna cry because it can be really hard, and that's why sometimes when people on Twitter talk about Mars can be good, I'm like, literally, shut up. I'm so sorry. Not to call people out, but honestly, to do it at the same time.
It's honestly me.
Like, please, 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 like you don't know. You have no idea what this
I
life
mean,
is like. You
it's
don't.
it's it's so interesting too because like I am literally both of those people because I have absolutely been the person who's like the malefics can bring you great things and I'm like cough cough only if you're hardwired to deal with conflict.
Right. Yeah. And
Like
like,
only if you're built for the hard shit.
right. And also like the good stuff can come. Absolutely. Those two friends cutting me off, it was painful as hell, but then my astrology practice took off. Like things like that happen. I met someone else who taught me a ton. Like so in like from like a
The
teacher
goods
perspective.
the goods don't negate the bad feelings though. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
Right. Yeah, and that is exactly the thing. Because like sure, yeah, there is goodness stuff that can come after that, but like did it really have to come through such a horrible manner? Sure, I'm super resilient and like when I am set on something and I want to get something done and I'm serious about it, I'll have the fortitude to get through that. But I've learned to do that because I knew I couldn't depend on other people because of all X, Y, and Z, because of hard experiences that led me to that point. And wouldn't it just be so much nicer to not experience those hard experiences? So,
Wouldn't it just be nicer if it was nicer?
right. Yes. That's why I don't. I've again, I've learned that that's not my battle to fight because you all, and this is another thing, handling Mars with caution. This actually, that time, 2020, I had a Mars practice. I was like baby magician,
Yeah.
not magician, baby like astro, trying to learn magic. I was on Renaissance astrology like every day, like doing everything.
Look,
I
shout out to Chris Warnock's website. Renaissance astrology is the shit. If
literally the
you
goat.
if you want to start a planetary practice and you're looking for Orphic hymns online for free, check yourself with
Renaissance
Renaissance astrology and Chris
Yep.
Warnock's information and stuff on his website. It's so thick with
Facts.
information.
So
But,
thick.
as we say, with caution.
Yes.
Don't be leaving my podcast and go starting a Mars
Don't
practice
do
if
that.
you've never done that. Don't do that.
Please don't.
Don't
Please
do
don't.
that.
Especially
I,
if you're
I would
born
hope
in
y'all
January.
listening to me would know fucking better than that, but I'll say it in case you don't. Do not leave this here podcast and go look up the hymn to Mars and go recite
Please
it for
don't.
shits and gigs because I promise that's not it.
Please don't. Please don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah, no, I literally would dress in red. I put scissors. I burned on the altar. I burned incense.
Bitch.
I had the tarot card. I had red candles. I was why? Why was I going that hard? Because I wanted the energy. I was like, I want to be able to like do this. And mind you, Mars was also in Aries during this time too.
I was about to say, was this during the Mars?
Yes, this is during Mars and Aries. And I'm just like going in every single Tuesday. I'm going in. And then Mars station retrograde and that all happened. And then also and with my friends texting me and cutting me off. And then also like I got like almost a year later in like April, no, it was more like May, June of 2021, I completely burned out. I couldn't do it anymore. I literally just like I could not take another step because I was just going way too hard for way too long and I loved what I was doing, but it got to the point where I was
It didn't
like,
love
"Oh
you
my
back.
God." What'd you say?
It didn't love you back.
No, it did not.
You loved everything you were doing, but it did not show you the love back.
No, no. I was also probably undercharging, and I probably should have been charging more money, and I probably would have made things feel a little different. But
Every astrologer hear that.
yeah, it's I don't know. So yeah, that was an unforgettable time. I will never forget that. And ever since that moment, I have, and then it was like, yes, then like in 2021, I met with Zach Powell to do a meeting with the stars,
We
the
love
Zach
Zach Powell.
and
Love Zach
I
Powell.
love Zach. He's like my best friend.
He's amazing.
Um, and I told him about that, and he was like, "Girl, no."
Zach probably looked at you and was like,
He was like, no, 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 no.
cut it out.
I did a very extensive Dionysus Bacchus practice for a good chunk of time after that, which
Jovian. We said Jovian.
yeah, and that's when that birthed. Déjà The Jovian was birthed through,
Mhm.
I definitely would say that that Bacchus practice. So yeah, Mars definitely brings the pain. Mars brings
Yeah, that's a good note for everybody who's listening who might like have questions about working with Mars magically if they haven't. I would imagine probably a lot of people here have, but if you haven't and you've thought about it, definitely assess your Mars situation first. Don't just go into a practice with Mars because if you're having Mars problems, strengthening Mars is probably not gonna be the thing. You're gonna want to remediate and balance with something a little nicer to get Mars in a more functioning working place as opposed to just diving straight into the malefic Mars, literally like throwing yourself into the fire, you know?
literally,
Um,
literally.
yeah, I would not recommend anybody work seriously, concretely with Mars unless you've done the pre-work and the assessment with probably with other planetary work as well to get there because malefics, Saturn and Mars in general are more complicated and challenging to work with magically, and I would say more challenging to, I guess, I don't even want to use the phrase get what you want because that's not the point, but essentially to
Control.
have a desired outcome.
Yeah, yeah. They take things to the extreme.
Mm-hmm.
They we yeah, they take things. I keep wanting to say we. They take things too far sometimes, way too far. And I mean that's the malefics.
Yeah,
So what you gonna
that's
do?
that's a very malefic experience.
Yeah. Um. Hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, be careful out there. Don't.
Yeah. Yeah, be careful out there, y'all. Don't make bad choices.
Yeah.
And be careful with Mars.
Be very careful. Be yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Do we want to talk about some people with Mars in Aquarius?
Sure. Yeah.
Let's do it. So I'm gonna pull up some charts, show them on AstroSeek. Some of these don't have times, some of them do have times. And so we'll discuss these people and their life and things. So we'll start off with Patrick Dempsey. So no time. So we're just looking at an untimed chart. And the best thing about AstroSeek, if you haven't used this website before, all of you, if there's not a time, then you can see essentially the degree range that the moon moves on that day. So if you don't have a time, then you don't have a rising sign. And so then you don't know the exact degree of the moon. The moon is the planet that moves the quickest in the sky. And so roughly 12 to 13 degrees per day. And so you can kind of see that blue range next to the moon, essentially where the moon could be moving that day. Patrick Dempsey, he's an actor, hilariously also a race car driver, probably most well known for being on Grey's Anatomy, I think.
He's a race car driver?
Yeah, it's really a gag.
What? I did
Yeah,
not know that at all. That is so
yeah.
funny.
No, yeah, this is actually a yeah, super funny thing about him is that he had had his debut season at this point like about 10 years ago. And just likes to do it.
Wow.
Like the team that he's on is called Dempsey Racing.
Oh my god.
Like yeah, like he's a rich man that owns his own thing and does his own car because he just likes to do it.
That's so funny. Wow. Oh, he's having
Yeah.
a Saturn return right now too.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's so funny. Wow. What a dude. Yeah, I only know him from Grace. So
Yeah, the car racing thing was super interesting to me, selfishly because I grew up in Indiana, and so I have been a racing fan my whole life. I literally have a tattoo of a checkered flag on my shoulder, like it's full send. It's full send for me. And so that's one of the things that I loved about his chart is that even without a time, like we all know him from being fucking McDreamy in the Scrubs on Grey's Anatomy, but like here's this really unexpected thing that people don't know about him at all, which is that he just loves race car driving and just does it in his spare time and free time.
Yep. I love that.
And especially like because he has like the Mars and Venus super close together, like in his chart as well. It's like, here's this like a racing, that's a Mars thing. You're going fast. You're going fast. It's dangerous. One of my favorite race car drivers growing up, I remember when he passed away in a crash. And so it's like, this is a very real thing in the sport. But like, he's also Patrick Dempsey, so he's an actor and he's aesthetically beautiful. And so you have the Venus part of it. So that's just so interesting to me. And I love that about his chart.
I love that.
Wild. The next one is that I'm going to show is, you actually found this one, Ellen Pompeo.
Yes. I actually haven't looked at her chart. I just knew that she has Mars and oh no, we did. Yeah, Pisces rising.
Yeah, Pisces rising. I thought this was super interesting. So she has an AA rated birth time. And so for people listening, she's a Pisces rising. She has Sun, Mercury, Moon in and Venus too in Scorpio. She's got this whole massive Scorpio stellium. Mars in Aquarius, Jupiter in Libra, Saturn in Taurus. Yeah, like she's got all this stuff like right up in that like top little sector of her chart, like that 8-9 area. And then you've just got Mars over in the 12th house, chilling.
Making a square to Saturn and Taurus. Oh, that's so funny. Very fixed. Interesting.
Yes.
That's interesting because she's primarily known for that like one role on Grey's Anatomy. I feel like that's interesting with a lot of fixed signs. Like they're kind of known for like that one thing that they were able to do for forever.
I also think it's so like, I also like really specifically wanted to like start with these two when you mentioned them, because both of these actors were on Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
And they're so well known for it. And like, this show has been going on for so fucking long.
Too fucking long. Too long.
I'm absolutely going to be a person who's like, I've never watched a single episode, because I actually haven't. I've seen clips of it online, but I've never actually watched a full episode.
Oh, it's so good. It's crazy and it's so chaotic and just so ridiculous. But like,
it's also so Mars and Aquarius of me to be like, I've never seen an episode. I'm so unique.
I'm crying.
Like these two actors, like they carried this show on their back for how many years?
A long time.
Like how many years? And people were like, oh man, that's your thing. That's your bag. That's your lane. And you're staying in it and you're good at it.
Yep. They're killing it. They need to wrap it up though. They need to wrap it up. Because like it's like 26 seasons, and I think this may be
26.
The last one. Yeah, it's like wild. It's either 26 or 25. Yeah.
Oh hell no.
And every season is like 26 45-minute episodes.
No.
I just don't understand how you can keep coming up with stories. Like I don't.
Where is the content coming from?
I don't know. I don't know. Please. I wonder what.
Oh my god. Okay, that's crazy.
I wonder what Shonda Rhimes' chart looks like, because that's the thing. Well, actually, that's not true. How to Get Away with Murder wasn't that long, and neither was Scandal. Not
Bridgerton now too.
No,
she's on that Bridgerton wave right now. Let me pull up her chart. Let me see if I can. Let me see, just to pull it up for fun.
TV, man.
She does make some TV. Just for shits and gigs, we'll pull it up. Oh, I'm gonna use this chart in my next episode too, because she's got Mars in Pisces. I had a feeling.
That's funny.
I had a feeling. Yeah, she's got no time, but she's definitely got Moon in Aries. And she's got Mars in Pisces, and that is interesting to me. She does be making some TV. She does make that TV. All right, so next person we've got. Oh, I'm excited about this one. Next chart is Michelle Obama's chart. Michelle.
I love her.
Unfortunately, we have no time.
Womp womp womp.
Womp womp womp. But definitely has Mars in Aquarius along with Saturn. Part of the malefic Conjunction by sign, so sign-based conjunction, even if it's not close enough to be called degree-based, but still, that's a whole sign conjunction. And might have the moon there, but moon might be in Pisces. That's debated. I'm not gonna dip my toe in that debate because that's not the point of this.
I'm crying. Yeah, I loved Michelle Obama growing up. I was in
Yeah.
8th grade when Obama was inaugurated, or actually no, in 4th grade, me, my mom, and my 4th grade teacher went to go see her speak. And it was one of the best experiences, one of the most memorable experiences I had as a child. Because like she was just such an incredible public speaker, and she was just it I just felt like she was talking specifically to me. I almost forgot that we saw Michelle Obama speak. I love her. I
Oh.
okay, okay. As like a I can't even say as a figure, I can't even say I don't know. I love Michelle Obama. The Obamas, but you know.
Together as a concept,
Right,
different,
as a concept, yeah,
different thing.
but um
Also,
I love
really,
Michelle.
also really interesting thing worth mentioning for her is I think it's been about 2 years ago. Let me check the time. Yeah, 2 years ago in 2022 was during Saturn in Aquarius. During her Saturn return was when she released "The Light We Carry."
Ooh.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
was
that
that
was when
her
she
most
released.
recent?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So that's her most recent book that was released during the Saturn return, which again, like her Saturn return will hit her natal Mars every time before it actually gets to Saturn, because she has both malefics there. So that was like the most recent book release, and I remember looking at that earlier today and thinking, oh, that's super interesting that that would line up timeline wise, with like the second Saturn return at your late 50s, early 60s, um, because of um I guess probably also like that time, we're in COVID, like her and not her, but obviously her husband, Barack Obama, who was the president, is bound out of office now, and everything's going on with Trump when he was in office. And I was like, this is a very interesting time to release your book. Like, this is a very interesting choice that was made, like very specific,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, and something that I've always, I guess, admired about her specifically is that even though she has been linked to her husband for so many years, she hasn't let that be her, I guess, like definition, if you will.
Absolutely.
She's made sure that she, like, does her own writing, does her own events and appearances, and like specifically like charity work and things that she wants to do, and doesn't just let the essential identity of like a first lady to the husband be everything that she is.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love Michelle. Love her down.
Yeah. So next chart. So this one is shown with a rising sign, but it doesn't have like an exact time because it's like X-rated. But this is Pharrell's chart. Pharrell Williams, who we just call Pharrell at this point. Like sometimes I forget he has the last name. I swear.
Fine.
It's so real. But this is shown with Sagittarius rising, where it's rectified. We'll go with it though. But the Mars Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius, y'all, it's tight.
Yeah.
It's tight. Mars and Jupiter are both at 7 degrees of Aquarius. And oh my gosh, he's one of my favorite examples for this placement. Um, because he's just so good at everything he does.
He is.
But he doesn't let he doesn't let other people tell him what good is for his work. He's like, I've decided it's good, so it's good. The end, basically. Like his the way that he goes with his own music, but he's also produced so many other, like with so many other artists and so many other songs. I think people maybe they don't forget, but I feel like people forget that Pharrell's music is not just his own music that he's done. Like he's helped and produced so many other works.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like that also speaks to this. I think in whole sign, Sag rising would put his midheaven and wow, I always forget what charts look like in Placidus. So
So
sometimes I see that and I'm like, what in the world is this?
oh, it would be in the 11th. Yeah, midheaven would be in the 11th. Yeah.
Right. And then the IC and then Venus and Sun
in the
in Aries in the fifth, that you speaking to like him having his own stuff, but like a lot of his work is very like intertwined with other
Mhm.
people
Yeah,
and his groupthink. Uh,
absolutely.
it's
Yeah,
very
and that's
interesting.
really tight. Like that Sun Venus conjunction is also really tight, like
Yeah,
15 and 16 degrees Aries.
yeah.
And so he definitely has some planets like in his chart that are just right on top of each other that are making things even louder and in your face.
It's wild. It's wild. And Mercury and Pisces. I do like Mercury and Pisces. I think they're a lot of fun.
They're so much fun.
I just love all
They
the
really
planets.
are.
It's fun.
I just love I really do love a Jupiter ruled Mercury. I
Me
mean, you
too.
have it, so I know you get it. Like I just love them, even though sometimes I'm like, what the fuck are y'all talking about? It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm just vibing. I'm with it.
Yeah, you just vibe, you know? Just
I'm
gotta let
with
them,
it.
just gotta let us rant. And the point may be there or it may not be.
Yeah. Who knows? Who cares?
Exactly. Fine.
Okay, next chart. Ooh, I'm excited about this one. Next one, we don't have a time for it. A couple of these next ones we don't have times. This is Pedro Pascal's chart. So he has Mars in Aquarius. He has Sun in Aries, also has Mercury in Pisces, Venus in Taurus, Jupiter in Aries, Saturn in Cancer. I really love him and his chart specifically because he has gone so viral in the last couple of years.
He has
Like he's not young. He's been acting for years.
for a long time.
Like he's been acting for a long time. Like wasn't he in Game of Thrones like forever ago?
He was. He was.
Yeah,
He was in
like
Game of
but
Thrones.
he's just now like having people I feel like fall in love with him.
Yeah.
And a part of me is kind of thinking that that might be a little bit of like that Pluto and Aquarius effect.
Maybe. Yeah.
And like maybe him having a little bit of that like juice to his like Mars in a way.
Mm.
Especially because because whenever I first looked at his chart, for some reason I thought he had Pluto and Scorpio, and I was like, oh shoot, no, he has Pluto in Libra. And so that like whole sign trine to it with the Mars there. I'm like, is this activating all of everyone being in love with you all of a sudden?
I'm dying.
And the big thing about him too is that I've seen a lot of people talk online about him about the fact that he's not quote unquote conventionally attractive or conventionally like good at what he does in a way. Like
Whoa.
he almost
We're gonna have to
how
fight
do,
them.
how do I like not even not as in a bad way, but
Oh.
essentially him being unexpected, if that makes sense.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
not that he's bad at what he does, but that he does it in a way, the way that he's good is unexpected. And so that's almost off putting to people. And then because it's that, like, almost unfamiliarity of who he is, then people are, like, going batshit over it.
Hmm.
Because it's gone, I don't know. I feel like I went from vaguely knowing who this person was to not being able to get on the internet without seeing him every like 2 minutes. And I feel like it happened overnight, legitimately.
Crying.
And maybe that's because I wasn't as familiar with him before he went viral. Maybe that's on me. But it literally felt like out of nowhere, I've erupted and now I'm everywhere and you all know me.
Yeah. Yeah. He's really
And
bubbly.
it almost felt like this like almost like this like mental takeover. I was like, now everybody has the conceptualization of Pedro Pascal and everyone knows him.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it felt very Mars and Aquarius. Because it was like all of a sudden I have no idea who you are, or I like have a vague knowing, and now it's like now I know all about you and all of the different things you do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Next, there's a couple more. Oh yes. Oh my gosh, yeah. Now we're getting to some of my faves. Because I always like to save the juiciest ones for the end, of course. So this is Justin Timberlake's chart.
Oh.
He's got time chart. He's a Leo rising. He's got Mars in Aquarius. That's whole sign seventh house. Also where his sun is.
Wow.
And people have just known who Justin Timberlake is forever.
Yeah.
Like he became famous so young.
Yeah.
Like Super Bowl performances, boy band, like everything.
Yeah.
like he absolutely, I mean, even from back in like childhood, what's it called, the Mickey Mouse Club,
Oh wow,
like
that's funny.
he, yeah, like from the very beginning he was like thrust into stardom.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't remember who, but he was on the Mickey Mouse Club as well with, let me see if I can scroll and find it. Yeah, like other people like Britney Spears, like Christina Aguilera, like that time frame when all of those stars were like all breaking out and they were all doing like Mickey Mouse Club. Like I don't know why so many of our celebs and superstars got famous from the Mickey Mouse Club, but that's where
So
that was the come up.
Yeah, that was the come up. Interesting.
But he's like Justin Timberlake, and also definitely worth mentioning all of the not good stuff that's gone on with him through the years.
Horrible. Yeah. He's been awful. He's trying to make a comeback now. People are like, shut the fuck up. We don't care.
Right. Like he dropped off the radar for a very long time because so many things came out.
Yeah.
And now he's like trying to release new music and do all of these things. And people are like not with it because they're like, we didn't actually forget.
Yeah. What happened? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree. Yep.
And so that's interesting, and I feel like that's also a thing with like the Saturn rule. This like the Saturn ruling that is like if you do wrong, it's not going to be forgotten.
No, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, like it's not just going to be able to be like brushed under the rug per se.
No, no, no.
Yeah.
Nope. And he has Saturn in exaltation too, ruling this Mars. So justice will be served.
Yeah, man, justice for Britney for real.
Period. My
Like
goodness.
for real. Because now like and that's also a big thing with Saturn is like the legacy you leave. For a very long time, this person's legacy before that happened, this person's legacy was like art and music and joy and like pop tunes, you know?
Yeah.
And then, you know, looping back to even what you said, time reveals all of these things come out and it shows that it's like not actually a legacy that is worth like like putting up and putting on a pedestal per se, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah, the North remembers. And how he did Janet Jackson too. The North remembers.
Oh, yeah. That
Never gonna
that yeah, no, that was honestly a lot of people's villain origin story, I think.
Yep. Sorry, JT.
He did not deserve that.
You will never make a comeback in this household. Never, ever, ever.
Yeah.
Although
So
he did snap with Mirrors. Mirrors was really good.
unfortunately, he has a lot of bangers.
Yeah, no, he's really talented, but
I think that's also like that's like another thing about Saturn and like the legacy of it is like your legacy is being a piece of shit who unfortunately makes bangers.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Like
yeah. Sad.
Sad.
He has the money. He's getting I think it's great. Allow justice to be served. Ooh, maybe it's all these like maybe it's K2 going through Libra and stuff like that. Because I feel like recently was it Britney's book where she talked about it and stuff like that, and then that's when people started talking about him again.
I believe so. Because it was and then in the documentary.
There's a Britney documentary.
Framing Britney Spears. Yeah,
I thought there was just the book. Oh crap.
Yeah, I haven't seen the full thing, but I've seen a lot of clips of it. Yeah. So yeah. Yikes. And that follows a lot of the stuff like with her family that happened, like the conservatorship and like her mom and dad and sister and all of that.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah. All right, we got two more charts I want to look at. Second to last, we got Jada Pinkett Smith. Oof. Oof. There's so much tea with this one. So she has Sagittarius rising, with Jupiter really close to the ascendant, which means that Mars in Aquarius is in the third whole sign house, Saturn in Gemini in the seventh house, and then a bunch of stuff up at the top of the chart, like Moon and Sun and Mercury in Virgo she was born on a new moon. Venus in Libra. Yeah, she's a spicy character.
Yeah, she has Mars and Rahu, and
Right on
when I
top
saw
of
that, I was like, that's why she gets so much fucking hate.
She gets so much hate.
It's because of Mars, and I also did not recognize Saturn and Gemini in the seventh on the descendant.
Yeah, on the descendant. Yeah, no, people.
Interesting.
She is not meant to be liked.
No, no,
Legitimately.
and that's awful. That's so sad.
Like, no matter what she does, people are gonna
Yeah,
dislike her.
Yeah, it's so sad.
And it's so, and that also, like, another thing too, and this is not for everybody that obviously has a malefic on the descendant, but one of the, like, you know, traditional significations of malefic on the descendant, difficulty in partnerships. Yeah. You know? And her and Will Smith's marriage has been so closely followed. They have been scrutinized as partners, as parents. They have been dragged through the mud by the paparazzi, by just like reporters. It's insane to think about how much gossip and drama and how much revenue probably has been made by gossip rags based on stuff about the two of them and their marriage and their family.
Yep.
And like, we all remember the slap heard around the world when Will Smith like smacked, like I
didn't think it was that big of a deal.
I didn't either, but the way that everyone else reacted made it a big deal.
Yeah, and I was like, y'all need to relax. We have seen significantly worse on live television. Literally, Justin Timberlake. Hello? Don't play with me. Like,
honestly, so real.
Like, come on now. Like, we just had an example of this. It was really not that serious. It was also clear that there was something else was going on that, like, you know, we don't know about, but like, we don't know these people. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I just don't. So what? People fight sometimes.
So what?
Like this, Mars ruled. People fight. Like, whatever. Let them tussle. It's okay. Sometimes violence is the answer.
Yeah, I mean, literally, Mars conjunct Rahu, like, hello, we're gonna brawl.
Violence is the answer.
I support women's rights and wrongs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because some people, like, honestly, truthfully, like, I don't know, some people just need to get their ass beat. That's it. They just need to get their ass beat.
So
there's
real.
No words. There's no words. And like, there's just no words to describe. You just have to give them a good slap, a good punch, and
I think that says a lot coming from Mars and Aquarius, because that means that for you to be able to say that and to get there means that you have exhausted every possible word. Mm-hmm. You have used every word possibly, and you're like, you know what? Words ain't gonna cut it. It's time to beat some ass.
It's time to beat ass. Yeah. And it doesn't always, it usually does not get to that point. I have gotten to that point once in my life where I've been like, there's no more words. We can fight. Like, these are fighting words, and I'm not going to ignore that. We can tussle. Of course, they're not going to, because people just like to hide behind their little phones and talk their little shit, and they don't realize people have hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't.
This is reminding me of the song from Hamilton, 10 Dual Commandments. And I literally looked up the lyrics to make sure that I would say them right. It's number 3, have your seconds meet face to face, negotiate a peace or negotiate a time and place. This is commonplace, especially between recruits. Most disputes die and no one shoots. And I love that lyric of like those lyrics specifically, because it's like, if we talk it out long enough, then we'll get there. But then the funny part is that later on in the song, they get, because it's 10 dual commandments, so you get to like the 10 commandments, and later on you're like, all right, we didn't work it out, so grab your guns, bitches. Like, crying. That's literally how the song goes. It's like, all right, number 8, your last chance to negotiate. Like, we're giving you every opportunity to talk it out, but if you don't, then we're gonna duel at dawn and we're gonna shoot our pistols at each other.
Yeah. I'm crying.
We duel at dawn.
Duel at Dawn. That seems like a good Fight Club name.
Yeah.
Duel at Dawn. Dawn
It is.
dueling. No,
Ooh.
I like Duel at Dawn better.
I like them both. All right, last chart example is Jane Fonda.
Okay, I actually don't think I actually know who this person is, if I'm being honest.
Shut up.
I know their face. No, I probably know her face, but I just have literally I'm not good with names. So
Okay. She's the
yeah, I know
Barbarella
this
girl.
lady. Yeah, I know this lady. Was she in that new Tom Brady movie?
Maybe, or yes, I think so. She's iconically known as like the iconic Barbarella girl. So Barbarella, I'm sorry. It is a science fiction film that, funny enough, I have not even seen. But she is the Barbarella girl.
Okay.
And she's now known for essentially getting arrested all the time. Because she's an activist.
Oh, period. Oh, absolutely. Good for her. Okay, so maybe that's why I'm familiar with her face again. Maybe I've seen things recently. Yeah, period.
Yeah, so there's also if anybody here listens to the Arctic Monkeys, their song Arabella has the lyrics, she's got a Barbarella silver swimsuit in it, because essentially what Jane Fonda wears is this extremely iconic, like shimmery silver bathing suit that like she just has this iconic look. And she basically like she's acted for all of these years. She's been in all of these different things. And she's now like regularly gets arrested. Because she started, this isn't even recent. She started in like the civil rights movement, like protesting the Vietnam War. Like she's done so much, like she's not new to this, you know? And she's always done like a lot of both of this. Like she has like done her acting, and she's also like done a lot of protesting. Like she's, I think, been arrested multiple times. She was arrested once in 1970, arrested like for just protesting and stuff. Super vocal for her support for like the LGBTQ plus community. Like she is just essentially one of those people with a platform that I feel like uses a platform well in a way. Like she doesn't let the fact that she's famous as fuck stop her from being like, fuck these awful things that are happening. And that's something that's super admirable. And like she's not new to this. Like she literally has been standing on business for decades. And she also, of course, has had like many controversial things. Like I'm pretty sure one of her times getting arrested was for like drugs and shit. So like she's had plenty of other arrests as well, you know, like she's not new to this.
The law.
Yeah, of course. Like she doesn't fuck with the law like that. But super interesting that she does have an AA rated birth type, and her Mars is like, I thought of you because I was like, oh, I really want Jane Fonda's chart to be last because you have the 0-degree Mars and she's got that 29-degree Mars.
Yeah, that's wild.
She's got that Mars that's like about to go, but then she's got the co-presence with Jupiter, but Jupiter's the one at 0 degrees.
That's so funny. Like they're...
So I was like, oh, nice. We have like the Mars Jupiter co-presence once again.
Yeah. And she has a Leo moon too, which is cute.
Yep.
Opposite both of those. So that's
and the Sun in Sag, dog.
Oh my god, we're twins.
No, for real, yeah. I love that's why I was so hype about her chart whenever like we knew you were gonna come on. I was like, oh man, I was like Jane Fonda's chart and your chart, I was like, I love it.
That's so sweet. Oh my goodness. No, I need to research this lady more.
She's truly iconic, and I'm gonna be like, I don't even care. It's not gonna age me, it'll probably age my parents, but she is an actress that my parents were obsessed with.
Crying.
Like, legitimately, I remember growing up and my parents being like, oh my fucking god, Jane Fonda.
I'm crying.
Like,
so funny.
Legitimately, she's been doing this shit for so long. I mean, fuck, she's like almost 90 years fucking old.
Yeah, she's 86. Holy
like, she's old as, like, she legitimately is old as fuck. And, like, so many generations of people have, like, known her and seen her because, like, a couple of her roles, especially Barbarella, were so aesthetically iconic that she really like shaped, I guess, like in a way, the classical aesthetic narrative of that, like of that movie and of that time, and for herself, just to become so iconic.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so neat. I love that. Good for her.
Yeah, she's a baddie for sure. She's for real a bad bitch. Like I adore her.
Period.
So Deja, do you have any advice, or like maybe words of wisdom that you want to give people, anybody that has Mars in Aquarius, or anything you want to tell someone who loves someone who has Mars in Aquarius, or even anything that you just want to talk about or bring up to wrap up, final thoughts, stuff like that.
Ooh. I don't know. I guess chat. Always do the chatting, ask questions. Oop, hold on, I'm getting a phone call. Sorry. Always be curious with your Mars and Aquarius person. And give them sometimes I take time I need time to like figure out what's going on with how I feel about something. So, give them
Okay.
time to like think about that. And then allow them to say, okay, I've had my thoughts together. I'm ready to share now. And also understand that we don't necessarily take conflict personally. And that's something that we can work on, absolutely. And I think that's like advice for like people with Mars and Aquarius. If you love someone with Mars and Aquarius, like people with Mars and Aquarius, it's good to like register. I don't take conflict personally, but other people do. And so, finding a balance in that is really helpful. And recognizing when like it can be sensitive for other people, um and yeah, finding that tenderness is helpful. um but
A Malefic ruled by a Malefic is still baby.
yeah, still, oh, I am, people don't know this, but my boyfriend knows. I no, there's times, no, I am baby, please. It may not look like that from the outside, but oh yeah, behind closed doors, mush.
Then baby.
Exactly. I'm trying to think, is there anything else I would say about Mars and Aquarius? I don't know. I don't know. We're just out here vibing. There's not much, just follow, just wander where you want. Stay true to yourself and follow your dreams.
I'm screaming. No, that's so, honestly, not even unironically, it's so true though, because I feel like one of the Aquarius issues that people run into is like trying to go with the flow too much, and it's like, no, you just got to be your weird little self.
Gotta be weird. You just gotta be weird. And that's okay. It's hard accepting that. It's been really
Yeah.
hard accepting that for myself. Is like, you're just different and you're just gonna do things differently than other people. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But that's okay, you know? So find the joy in that. I guess.
Yeah.
Uh, and
Yeah.
also treat Mars with caution. With deep, diligent caution. Regardless of the Mars sign. But especially like, I also think, I mean, I don't know, I feel like peregrine Mars have a tendency, I don't actually, I don't know, but I feel like there is a possibility for, like if we think of the gun um analogy, sniper rifle versus like machine gun,
Yep.
sometimes peregrine planets kind of the gun will go off at any random moment with
Mm.
no direction, then it'll just go,
Not the gun just went off
just
argument. I'm screaming. It just went off.
goes off. Whoops. I didn't know that was gonna happen. So being able to be more in tune with like when you can sense, all right, I'm getting to that point. I'm getting
Mm.
there. I'm almost there.
Oh, or maybe even the concept of like keeping it consciously unloaded.
Yes. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yes. And that's a skill. That is really a skill because yeah, I think Mars remediation is like constantly trying to find joy. Malefic remediation in general is constantly trying to find joy and operating from a space of like just trying to remain positive, because the moment and that's the thing I really tried to like keep like at the center, because the moment I lose that positivity, the moment I lose hope,
Mm.
I'm like, there's no point, and I
So,
just
yeah, what's
fall
the point
into
then?
despair, right? And yeah, so if you want to have a better relationship with Mars, don't do Mars things. Do Venus and Jupiter, if I'm being completely honest.
As
Mars
far as
will figure
remediation
itself
goes,
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
always
that's true.
tell,
That's
I
true.
always tell people to get your Mars out physically
Yeah.
more so than spiritually.
Yeah.
Not to say that people can't do spiritual and like remediation and connection work with Mars, but usually if a person's having a Mars issue, it's like find a way to healthily sweat that out and then devote yourself to a benefic.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like sweat it out,
Anything.
healthily run, lift, jump, fly, do whatever you need to do, swim,
Yeah.
dance,
Yeah.
whatever you shake, anything you need to do to get it out physically, but then do the more intentional work with one of the benefics
Hmm.
so that you can like balance the
Right.
heat and the intensity with the joy and the lightness.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's something I used to do when I was in college and I used to get really mad. Um, I would go on runs and it could be in the middle of the night. I didn't care because I was on my college campus and I was a
Right.
small school, and so I felt pretty safe even at night. Um, but yeah, no, if I was angry, I would just run and just work out as hard as I can for a bit. And then usually afterwards, I feel a lot better. It clears your brain a lot. Um, so yeah, definitely get that stuff out physically. It definitely helps. I agree with that.
Yeah, for sure. Get
Dropping
it
the gems.
out.
Dropping the gems. Yeah, but I think that's all I have. I don't think I have any other thoughts.
Okay. Is there anything that you're working on right now? And tell the people where to find you, tell the people what you offer, all of those things. I know you kind of mentioned that you're in like a nice little transition period, but still hype yourself up and let the people know where to find you and know more about you.
Yes. I am on Instagram and Twitter. I'm also on TikTok. But my TikTok has nothing to do with astrology. I just kind of share think pieces. But
You're here
under
for that
I
too. Give your
That's
Mars and
true.
Aquarius a soapbox.
That's true. That's true. I do love a think piece. Yeah, so Deja the Jovian, you'll find me everywhere. I
We will
may or
all
may
be
not
linked below as
be.
well.
Yes, thank you. I am redoing my website if I am making a comeback. So that is down at the moment, but it may or may not be up in the near future. I think I
Keep
may
your eyes
even,
peeled.
huh?
Yeah, I said keep your eyes peeled.
Yes, exactly. Yes, keep an eye out. But yeah, I'll talk about it on social, whatever I decide on doing. But yeah, so I'm kind of in an eclipse cave, waiting out this April 8th one. I'm not doing anything super wild right now. Just, you know, keep my head low, allowing this astrology to astrology, and wherever I end up after all of this, that's where I end up, and I'm just gonna take it wherever the planets take me is where I'll
Wow.
go.
Spoken like someone really going through a first and seventh house eclipse cycle because I remember when that was me, dog, and I'm like, yeah, that was the feeling.
Yeah,
That was the feeling.
just gonna let it. Just gonna let the chips fall where they fall. Um,
Heck yeah.
yeah. So, yep, that's it. Do I have anything else going on? No, not really. I don't really have anything to share. If you are in Philly, definitely give me a follow because I host astrology
Yes.
nights at Triple Bottom Brewing. We're on a bit of a hiatus right now, but I want to come back definitely for Jupiter and Gemini. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah. So if you're in Philly, keep your eye out for that too. But
Heck yeah.
yeah, this was
Yeah.
fun. I love talking about Mars. I love talking about Aquarius too. It's like my favorite. I love Aquarians. So
You are like such an Aquarian.
I love us.
I love you all.
I have a croc gibbets or whatever that has Aquarius, and my aunt, who's also a Sag, she's like, DJ, why do you have that? And I'm like, because I have a lot of Aquarius placements, and I don't know how to explain it other than that.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, if someone was to go based on like traditional planets, I mean, you have more in Aquarius than you
and
do
anything
in
else.
Sag. Yeah, than
Yeah.
literally anything else.
So it checks out. But yeah, love my Aquarians. We're in this together. No one gets us. Weirdos.
Yeah.
Ah,
Nobody understands
no one
us.
understands. It's just so funny.
Oh my gosh. Deja, thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy that we were able to make this work and you could come on the pod. I'm so thrilled. Oh, also, I'll just go ahead and tell you since it's happening and we're planning it. Everybody keep your eyes out whenever it comes out because Deja and I are going to do another episode with John and with Hugh on Saturn and Aries. We're gonna assemble the hottest squad of Saturn and Aries astrologers.
So excited. That's my other second favorite thing to talk about is Saturn and Aries.
I
Love
I
Saturn and Aries.
I also love it so much. I'm so excited about that episode. So we're gonna be planning that soon, and I'm really excited about that. It's also gonna be fun too because all three of you, Hugh and I, are planning an episode to do. And that's really happening, so I can go ahead and say it. I won't say more, but we're planning episodes. So all three of you are going to have been on the podcast individually or like for a separate episode and then coming back for the Saturn and Aries one, which I'm super hype about.
Yeah. No,
so yeah,
great.
it's going to be good.
Cool.
Thank you so much for being here, Deja.
Of course. Thank you.
I love you so much. I feel like you have been like the most epic like ambassador for Mars and Aquarius. And like letting people know how amazing it is and how amazing you are because everybody should know that. And thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I love shining a light on the Mars and Aquarians, the weirdos.
So good. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank all of the people listening or watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being funky. And I will see you the next time our fates weave together.
Yay! Bye, everyone.